I grew up as a farm worker in the Central Valley of California, and I always wanted to play baseball. You know, all Mexicans play baseball, right?
Yeah.
And so I walked on to Merced College, which was like 9 miles away from my town, and I didn't have a car. Uh, so I would go to school with friends, and after school they would leave, and I'd stay in practice with the team, and I'd have to hitchhike home. And
Hmm.
so I knew nothing about grants and scholarships. You were talking earlier how we've all had a tough life somehow, right?
Yes, sir.
And but I didn't know, so I joined the military in 1972 in the Air Force. Well,
Hmm.
first I was going to go in the Navy. I mean, show you how life takes me, because my brother Michael, a year older than me, was in the Navy, and I went and I took the physical, and I flunked my physical because my knee popped, and I had hurt it playing baseball. So the doctor says, "No, man, you got to go get surgery." And I was all bummed out, man. But the Marine recruiter, there was he's the one that tried to get me to go to the Marines. And I said, "No, no, no." I said, I don't want to go to Vietnam. I
Yeah.
just want to serve my country. And but he's the one that got me into the Air Force. So I never knew his name and all that, but he sent me to Oakland. And he says,
Mm.
"But just don't tell him about your knee." And I did, and I passed, and I joined the Air Force. And I always said if I went to the Orient, I'd always want to study the martial arts. That was during the Bruce Lee era,
Yeah.
way before your time. And
Uh,
so anyway, they stationed me in a place called Thailand, and shit, I didn't even know what Thailand was. And I had friends that were there like 3 months before me, and they were already acclimated, so they took me downtown Banchan to see some fights, and I didn't even know Muay Thai fights were about.
mm.
Just got through a kick and kind of knocked the guy out, and I said,
Yeah.
"Oh, all right." So on the base they had Taekwondo, but Taekwondo Thailand sounds the same. So I started taking that, and the the Koreans kind of filtered off, and the Thais took over, and they kind of transitioned us, and yeah, so that's how I got started and got back to the States, and I lived in Oakland, and I got into boxing just to improve my hands, and started working with amateur fighters, and then I moved out to Fairfield, suburbs, 40 miles away
Hmm.
from Oakland, and I opened up a school of kickboxing with just a credit card. And so I was a trainer, before I was a cut man, and I had to learn to be a cut man because I worked with a lot of high end world
Hmm.
class fighters, and of course when you use elbows and all that, they get cut. And so in that era, now you said you learned from watching my videos. And the reason I do those is because I'll never forget Marvis Frazier fought Bone Crusher Smith in
Hmm.
Richmond, California. And I went to go see it. I had my school of kickboxing, but I was making the transition into being a cut man also. And I asked this guy that did a good job in one of the cuts in earlier fights. I said, "Look, I'm trying to learn to be a cut man. Can you tell me what you did?" He says, "Fuck you." He says, "I'm taking this to my grave, and you got to learn like me." And he walked away.
Oh,
I
wow.
felt about this big, bro. I said, I'm
Yeah.
never gonna be like this guy. So that's why you got that video. So my job is to teach. It's not even about making money. I put a video out about 4 months ago called "Giving the Fighter One More Round." It's at stitchduran.com. And it's only $50. But it shows you how to wrap hands for boxing, for MMA,
Hmm.
how to work cuts, how to work the swelling, the medication, everything that I know. I put it in a seminar form for $50, but it's to teach. That's my whole legacy, bro. Just to at the end of my career, what did I do? Is hopefully I helped make this game a lot safer.